the SM Media Podcast Network. Hi folks, and welcome to the latest episode of SM Media's Countdown to Cheltenham 2026. I'm Scott McPike. It is always a delight to be your host as always, and we are getting nearly there. This is the last show of February, which means March is round the corner and the Cheltenham Festival is 2 weeks away. To join me to look back on a few things and to discuss what's coming ahead in the next couple of weeks, it is a delight to welcome from the Scottish Daily Mail, Calum McClurkin. Calum, how are we?
Yeah, all good, thanks. Yeah. It's beginning to hit fever pitch now, isn't it? Really, you're kind of really the kind of last knockings of it, final prep, all sorts going on. So yeah, it's kind of now we've got the weights as well for the handicap. So it's all getting very real now.
It is, and we are, as you say, we'll talk about the weights, we'll talk about handicap marks and things like that, and where we're possibly leaning towards handicap ratings. But we've got a couple of bits of news. Where else to start with the news that's gripped the racing world over the past week? It is the one and only Constitution Hill. Curiosity got the better of both of us. We both watched his pretty scintillating performance at Sutherland in the flat, where he won fairly impressively. Immediately the thought was, what's going to happen? Is he going to go the champion hurdle? Is he going to go a run in the flat? We then obviously get told yesterday by Nicky Henderson that they were going to just not go to the champion hurdle. He will get a wee parade at Cheltenham to see him off in his jumps career, but is very much eyes on the flat moving forward. Before we get into talking about like where next, what can he do, it was just good to see him back, and the machine is still there.
Yeah, the engine there. That was a really good performance. Won by 9. Could have won by more. Not greatly extended. And yeah, when we were on last week, he was 46 and he was pushed out to 5-2. And he came steaming back in at 64 for half an hour, and in a really kind of market move where suggested that he wouldn't really get beat, and he came out and stamped his authority and class on it. Beat the right horse in second. And yeah, I mean, you couldn't rate it worse than mid-90s, and that really opens a lot of doors for him. And wonderful reaction from the crowd suggests that he is kind of a horse that's really, really cherished by the racing public, which is rare and rare these days.
Right, in terms of going towards the champion hurdle, I immediately text you after this going, I think the temptation will be quite irresistible. It turns out I was wrong. Are we putting this down to he's just performed badly in a schooling session, or do you think not common sense has prevailed? Because I think anybody who says they've not done the right thing here is totally wrong, because they have to think of the horse's welfare and actually the wider landscape of horse racing. But like, do you think at any point after Friday they were considering champion hurdle?
I think after the immediate euphoria of it all, and you think, yeah, great success, we've got him back, you're thinking anything's possible again, really. But then when the dust settles in the cold light of day, you look at what's happened before, and so we said, he could win this by 12 or lose by 12. It's immaterial to his jumping in a champion hurdle, and that's the big problem with him is his jumping. And fundamentally, you're not going to learn anything in a 1.5 mile novice in the flat on that score. So I think they regrouped. I think when they put the market up, probably like it was 1-3 yes, 9-4 no, and then it was constantly beginning to get tighter and tighter. And then Wednesday morning, totally before the announcement, which was quite quick because they were going to leave it till maybe the weekend. But I just thought the flat run bought them more time. Again, it gave them just an extra headache that was kicking the can down the road. And I think they've came to the sensible decision there. But, Nicky Henderson, Michael Buckley, Nico de Boinville, they know the horse better than anyone else. So whatever route they went, I think they would have been generally supported by the racing public. They've erred on the side of caution here. And look, you can see why. I mean, I think the real kind of line under it really was Newcastle and fighting fifth, because I think that really shocked them.
Mm-hmm.
He jumped the first fine, and the second was just inexplicable. He fell. Um, I think the fact that the clear summer with him, the very clear run with him, they not a lot of issues. Um, and they think, right, we can wipe the slate clean here. We can have a lot of time, and we can go to Newcastle and see what happens. And for me to tip up there pretty inexplicably early on was quite shocking. I think with the way that he's just crashing through them all, really, it's not a great sight. It's not improving, and I don't think he can replicate 2 mile race pace in any schooling session we do. So I think that's pretty irrelevant. So the major concerns were there. I think they've got the wider sport image to kind of maybe think about, because there's bits of him that are essentially public property. So yeah, it was very difficult, and for the trainer as well and jockey. They've got the first two favourites in the first two races in the first day as well to prepare. And they've got a whole team of really good horses this year to prepare. And if it's a decision that's keeping me up at night, as Nicky Henson says, and it's 50-50 and swaying all the time, it's not really good for you for the rest of the week, because it's a long draining week, he's been in the game for 50 years in the training ranks. So I don't think you want that really kind of weighing you down all week. So I think it's kind of, it definitely gives him at least a peace of mind, and you can map out, okay, he's a 9-year-old gelding, so it's an unusual situation to go down the flat. He's not going to, that's the big kind of thing where, he's going to run in Group 1s, well, he's not really going to win a flat Group 1, is he? He's a 9-year-old gelding that was fit in the flat. He's not going to improve from that, so, but can he do damage in big top-class handicaps? Yes. Is he flexible in terms of trip? Yes. I would go up and trip after that. A mile 4, mile 6. I mean, I wouldn't run him in the Ascot Gold Cup, for instance. I think he needs reasonable cut in the ground. So I think that's what you need to do. I mean, look, what's been mooted, John Porter in Newbury would be an ideal starting point. Something like the Ormond maybe at Chester could be an alternative one. Give him a wee break. He's going to be reasonably fit. See what happens, and it would light a fire under the start of the flat season. So I think that's the way to do it.
Well, I was going to ask that because I've heard like every race mentioned between 1 mile 4 and even get up to like the Ascot Gold Cup. Michael Buckley mentioned Melbourne Cup. I'll get your thoughts on that in a minute, but I don't think he's going to stay an Ascot Gold Cup trip, even if he's a superstar of the flat. I don't think he's going to stay 2.5 in the Ascot Gold Cup. I think that's something we can agree on. I don't really think, though, they have to look at a kind of massive target. Just have a bit of fun with him. The chaos they've had the past 3 years trying to get him back to where he was at winning a champion hurdle. Just go and have a bit of fun with him. Try to go in Group 2 races. My two kind of thoughts were maybe potentially kind of target races, maybe the Ebor, maybe the Irish St Leger. Those were the two that maybe came to mind, and have a go at that if you think he's good enough. I think Melbourne Cup, I can't see that. I think he'd have a chance in it. I think that would be very surprising if the Australian vet allowed him to participate in the Melbourne Cup.
Yeah, apparently he's not a good drawer, but Michael Buckley was saying that there's nothing obvious that would prevent him doing it. The thing is, you usually get pretty quick ground there, so I think that might rule it out initially anyway. It's a race he might enjoy. I mean, Willie Mullins said like the likes of old like Max Dynamite going there and going close back in the day, and if it's 7-year-olds like Vown Declare, who are really great racehorses winning it. So I mean, it's plausible, but you would concretely rule out anything. Just selectively pick and choose your targets. I mean, I'll just pitch up in a good 3 in the back end of Easter and early on when you're fit, and probably others are kind of trying to gain fitness, so you can kind of press ahead there anyway. So I think Andy's probably likely to get some cut in the ground early doors. So yeah, and that'll give you a mark, and that's where you can go. I would be thinking kind of Ebor if the ground was decent enough for him. and that's a winning you're in race for Melbourne. The Irish at Ledger's definitely a possibility. It's a type of race that you can see. But I mean, the likes of like, I need to really follow the programme book of the likes of like Al Azzy and Hamish and horses like that at that level. I think that's what you're kind of going at. The top end ambitious. The Royal Ascot race one would be the Hardwick, there. But again, you're likely to get quick ground, so it'd probably be tough for him. But yeah, you just run where you're running these kind of classy mile and a half, mile 6 races, I think, where as long as the ground's not got any firm in it, really. I think that's what you do.
Right. Well, one thing that obviously been ruled out of the champion hurdle means is that the champion hurdle is just a wide open market. New line 9-4, Brighter Days Ahead's 11-4, Lossiemouth 7-1. Last year's winner Golden Ace 6s, likes of Pony Ross, Anzadam, Ballyadam. Are we any further forward with this champion hurdle?
No, I mean it's all about which horse we trust the most. I suppose the microscope now is kind of shifted on to Lossiemouth and saying, "Are you going to be brave enough to come here?" There's been a plunge for Pony Ross. Can maybe see why, but he still has got a bit to find with the market principles, although there's kind of doubts about them, but they're still comfortably ahead of them in figures. But you know, he kind of he likes to run well fresh, and it was an obvious kind of just hack canter really in the Irish champion. He might be the kind of fresher horse coming out of that race, but he does have a bit to find. Yeah, I mean, I'm still kind of it's leaning towards which negative he kind of marginalised the most. I would probably say Brighter Days Ahead, but at this stage, but it's certainly something that I'll be definitely waiting for later.
Yeah, I'm thinking I'm waiting today and just seeing how this develops. We'll cover it more in our Cheltenham preview show, which will be on next Friday. So stay tuned for that. We will have an in-depth preview of the Champion Hurdle. Another race that's been blown open is the Triumph Hurdle. That was due to Narciso Haas, long-term favourite, been ruled out through to injury. We both were really high on this Narciso Haas. It's just a bummer he's not going to be there because he's been one of the few horses that you've looked at and thought you do look banker material.
Yeah, I think he was top of my list, and that's where we've actually been saved by Marlin's bingo with not knowing where Lossiemouth Factor fell going because there's nothing really to pair him up with at this stage early on. So yeah, saved a little bit there. He's been very good. The 2 Grade Ones that he's won, well, 2 graded races he's won, he's kind of won it from the back, won it from the front, softer quick ground. It's pretty immaterial to him, and yeah, I think would have probably have his experience would have won the day anyway in the Triumph, and it's a shame not to see him because I think he still is going to be a classy horse, isn't he? But I mean, he had just a minor kind of setback, so yeah, hopefully all's okay with him. But it's certainly blown the Triumph a little bit open, even though Mullen still is the top 2 or 3 in the market, really.
Yeah, it seems to still hold the kind of the aces. Proactive's 4-1, Selma Devaris 9-2, like some Maestro Conte, Manch 2, Manila Study into it as his Macho Man, Charme de Fos. There's a lot of interesting horses here. Have you got an angle at the moment? No. Nah. I think Manila Study is becoming a very interesting runner here.
Yeah, I mean, he has nibbled, isn't he? He's just been
Yeah.
tipped in places, but 8-1 though. I do think that Irish form still holds the edge, and Proactive maybe just above the Selma Devari. I think Selma Devari maybe needs a bit more experience, but I just think the Irish form might still be a little bit superior to the Brits.
Okay, well, we did have obviously a weekend of racing. There wasn't a lot of Cheltenham clues, so maybe a couple we can talk about. But overall, at the weekend, any kind of interesting performances that caught your eye with possibly a view to Cheltenham or even Aintree because it was a big Grand National trial. Anything catch your eye over the weekend?
I think Grange Clear West was the best performance of the whole week. And Bobby Joe, the last 2 winners of it, have gone out in the Grand National. He's already placed in it, and he's going to be thereabouts again, isn't he? Off that weight, class in his day. He can be a bit in and out, but he's been second in a kind of one of these kind of big Grade One races, isn't he? Galloped the show horses like that. So he's got a big effort in him. Very much like I am Maximus, really. be a little less weight. I think it'd be difficult for Paul Towney not to be on him. He's got a good association via Maximus, but he's kind of waited out of it. Maybe had his moment. Grange West, maybe not. So I think he might be the one that's geared up. He's about 10-1, but I mean Townend was very, very good on him. Probably his best ride of the year. Really stalked, waited, and picked up Jerry Coloma, ran with real encouragement in second. So it looked a decent enough renewal, and it'll be interesting to see what they're like in Aintree, because a good few of them will turn up.
Yeah, I mean, a couple, like, again, the Adonis was a bit difficult with Precious Man being fatally injured, but I thought the Luna Artista, again, maybe an each way player. I would lean towards maybe Aintree more with her. I think she's maybe a player there, but Jax Jr. was decent as well. You'd imagine at best that each way players at Cheltenham if they go and decide to go there.
Well, I think the Luna Artist, I think, is pretty high up the Fred Winter market now. I think that's what they want to go.
Okay.
And it was a good enough performance. Beating one horse time with 13 lengths, who looks like a horse that desperately needs a break, to me. And yeah, I mean, she does have reasonable enough experience in the bank, Luna Artista from the level. So, I mean, mark a 125 probably get you in. Yeah, you could take in both really. Aintree possible, but if she's come out of it well, you could take a chance if Fred wins with a mark like that. Arguably had the measure of Precious Man anyway. I'm not so sure. I think the jockey panicked a little bit on the fatal injured Precious Man when she did pick up from the front, but she did it nicely. And she's pretty high up Fred Winter market. I wouldn't put necessarily people off, but again, it's just kind of Kempton form translating into Cheltenham form is usually pretty difficult at that level and that turnaround as well. So wouldn't be for me, I don't think.
Okay, well, we did obviously get our Cheltenham handicap weights, and we've got 12 races where we got information. I'm not going to go through every race in depth, but we'll kind of just look at kind of where we're at. We got an idea for the first handicap, which is going to be the Fred Winter. Now the McCoy Contractors Juvenile Handicap Hurdle. Just some of the horses that got weight. Saratoga got a mark of 130, Malaga 130. Munsif 126. A couple of Joseph's horses there, their weights have really, really interested me. Glen to Glen got 129. You met La Luna Artista's got 125. Top weight would be Monge 2. I don't think she would go here. In terms of the kind of Fred Winter, like Ben Hur, let me just see what Ben Hur got, was a mark
131.
131. Decent handicap ratings. Like, again, where do you want to be for a kind of Fred Winter? You'd imagine. I would always say 130 or under would probably be the where you'd be looking for.
Yeah, the thing is, I mean, there's not a lot that are really kind of ridiculously high here,
Nah.
and your higher ones will now be tempted to go to the Triumph after the news of the Cecil has come out. So, like Man Stew, for instance, top weight 138, that's going to come out. And you'd see it Sam, it was kind of like 140 and stuff like
Quinta
that.
Delago got 128 as well.
Brazil was quite high, so yeah, it's going to be, they're all pretty much ranked much for much this year in that 1, 2, 8, 1, 3, 1 category, really. So you can split them really with cigarette paper, to be honest. And there's not really a lot to glean from the weights because I think they'll all be carried pretty much the same.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to be really tight. It's going to be within like, you're going to get half the field here within about £5 each other, really. I think Barbizon was very harshly treated. I think
Yes.
I'm a bit disappointed in how the Irish handicappers seen that Frank Knight form because he's just jacked them up for the sake of it. It's ridiculous, really. It's a blind leading the blind over there sometimes. If I was Irish, I'd be pretty unimpressed by all this, to be honest. But in a way, if they all come over by stealth and you're jacking them up, they're going to knock the British runners out the handicap. So they won't be able to run. So it kind of defeats the purpose of it a little bit. I think if you're a Saratoga backer, I think 130 for the big gamble. I don't think you'd be unhappy with it. I mean, Winston Jr. now might go to the Triumph. So I mean, yeah, you've got Saratoga and Manlanga there that are going to probably go off likely the two market leaders, and they're the GP horses. So it's difficult to see them really getting being challenged. Charles Burns' horse could come in. One of Joseph's will definitely come in, at least I would think. And then you'll have plenty of other sleepers in behind. So it's a competitive race. I don't think there's a lot you could really glean with the handicaps because they're so tightly knit.
Just in the Ultima, Jaguar got a mark of 152. Blazed away. The pick you put up last week got 146. Happy with that?
And we knew about that beforehand because it had a national entry. So I'm happy with that because it knocks about the national hunt chase, which you no chance in my opinion. So I'll go here. See if they do go here, they might skip it. If they don't, I mean, it doesn't matter. But I think that's the right race for him anyway. Jaguar. Interesting thing about him is that they're thinking about putting headgear on him. Horses with headgear in this race have got a good record. You squeeze out.
Handstand as well. There's a vote of confidence for handstands with Ben Paulin if they go here, but they also did mention Ryanair if Fact to File and Gaelic Warrior don't go there.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, it's got options. I think like top class here. I think Ben Pons probably look at the race. He's got this horse right, which he quite likes almost as much as a jukebox man. And seeing that this is a pretty weak race, I've got to say it's not. It ain't great. I don't think.
No.
I mean, I'd be interested if he goes here. I don't think it'd be quick enough for a plate, for instance. It's either here or the Ryanair. The Ryanair we need to cut up. Fact to file goes. That probably makes a decision for them coming up here. But he's had issues handstands this season. He's got two wind ups, so you'd have to be doubtful a little bit at that price. But he's definitely classy. So is Mayertown, but he's blotting his copybook a little bit,
Yeah.
and surely they'll be wise out at his pace. And Quebec was qualified, but again, I think there's kind of questions to answer about his finishing effort. So I think there's a lot to take on in front of the market. I mean, Johnny Who 146
Mm-hmm.
isn't bad. He can make the odd mistake. Again, he's a bit of another questionable finisher, but I think he's getting up to this. I think he could be in the mix, but I still think Place of He's pretty unexposed. He's had a nice little break coming into this, and he's a decent enough price. And as the old trope is in festival preview nights with trainers that have got decent horses and decent chances for a race, I wouldn't swap him for anything in this.
Well, one that you cottoned on to a couple of weeks ago that I think the world is cottoning on to is Madara in the plate, 140. If he gets in, that's pretty handy.
Yeah, he was never going to get moved, and that's why Dan Skittle's got he's got at least three or four favourites for these handicaps. Yeah, with everyone's kind of DRF mode and rearranging that Monday a month ago, he was the obvious eye catcher for Cheltenham at Kempton in a Class 3 where I think he was second, but he was doing nothing, and the jockey was doing nothing. And this has been the target all season. Dan Skittle's been clear on that in his pre-season stable tour. It was a warm order for the Grand Annual where the trip caught him out, and he's owned by Brian Drew. He's switched yard as well at the same time as Panic Attack. As we know, what Panic Attack's gone on to do, this horse has similar mileage in the tank, and it's not been used yet, and it's been kept for this, I think. And if he has, and if he's got any sort of improvement the way Panic Attack does through the weights, he's going to absolutely scoot in here.
Yeah, I think it's a good chance. I think it's probably the one
The price is
handicap.
now gone. I mean, it was 14, 16s and that, and you had to be quick to kind of snap any of that up, even double digits. I mean,
Did you get anything? What did you get?
14s
14s. Take that all day long.
and 10s.
Very good. National Hunt Chase, Back Me or Sack Me is in there at 135. We kind of know about the British horses. One that caught my eye was actually a Paul Nolan horse, Iceberg Theory. Got a mark of 133. Two wins last time. Last two wins last time out. I think he's a potentially interesting play here. I also like Pick Rock as well. I think he's got a good mark. Won at Cork in November. Again, National Hunt Chase, new handicap. Horticolor won this last year. There is a couple of class angles in it if you look high enough. I think it looks like Mouse Morris horse will be the top of the weights if they go here. But a couple of Elliott horses are interesting. Anything you like in the National Hunt Chase?
It's very similar to last year, really. I think the top of the market is classy, and I think we'll outclass them. Newton Tornado, Rebecca Curtis, similar mark to Horticolor exposed. Is he Horticolor? That's the question. Maybe
Mhm.
not, but you can see why he's near the top. Back in Sat, he won that Leopardstown race easily. He's at the Cheltenham Sighter. He's looked a kind of in the mould for this, really. Like maybe like kind of like Corbett's Cross kind of thing for connections. He is that type of thing. Weed Outs, Resplendent Grace for Ollie Murphy again. These are the type of profiles that you usually get at the top of the market, and these are and they usually go close or they win. I think it's pretty hard to look elsewhere. Jukebox Kid was meant to go to Ireland. I don't think I liked Cheltenham the last day, so wouldn't be for me. Pretty fortunate to have a chance, but he's on the drift for some reason. The Holloway Queen's been tipped a little bit, but I think you need soft ground, and it's beginning to dry out Cheltenham a little bit, so might not get it now. Pickrock won well the last day, but I think he's quirky. Don't think he'd get away with that here. Iceberg Theory would have a chance, and then you're going down in the market. Part of Merchant Gornelli definitely would have a chance, and there'll be a couple of sleepers in behind. This is a market where they've latched onto the right ones at the top for
I
me.
think they have as well, yeah. We kind of link Coral Cup and Martin Pipe together. We've got kind of similar horses at the top of the market. I started a joke for Charles Burns, he's got 138. He's also in the Martin Pipe. Iberico Lord, Indivar Blue. The Passing Waves got 143. Yellow Clay 155. A couple of Willie Mullins horses in here. Copet to me's got 145, so he might go for both, or he might go for one or the other. Willie Mullins has obviously got a couple in the Martin Pipe as well. It's a race he's used as is Gordon Elliott. Gordon Elliott's got like he can't dance. I don't see a rating for Kazansky, which makes me think he's not going. Aaron Entitlement's got 139. And they kind of two races in jumping out at you.
Yeah, I mean, Kazansky didn't qualify, didn't get
Right,
enough
okay.
runs.
Not what it was.
So, yeah, I mean, this is the thing. You've got a lot of triple entries here in the hurdles,
Mm-hmm.
double entries, Martin Pipe's the same distance. So it's difficult to assess what's definitely going here.
Wainwright 134.
Yeah, there's a lot of movement for him for Martin Pipe over this, which is pleasing.
Yes.
So again, up to 134, not ideal, but it's fine. I would say. I started jokes obviously in Kelso. We'll see what they're doing there. It's that bonus, of course, isn't there? So
Mm-hmm.
they scout for that. I just come back to this race and keep looking at Iberico Lord and hope that he goes out to 14s in a place I can bet with, because I just think he's kind of there, sitting there, at a reasonable mark. The champion hurdle that he was in was the year where the Henderson horses weren't right and just took their chance anyway. He was 11-1 for that. He's just improved for a step up and trip after a period in the wilderness.
Mm-hmm.
The Lanzarote, which has worked out well because the third is the favourite for the Martin Pipe. And he won that hard hill in the Bridle and gets £7 rise, and that seems easily achievable here. And he's in that kind of in and around that kind of mid 140s area, 144, where that seems fine to me. Nicky Henderson mentioned him, and it was neither positive or negative. Said, yeah, the trips could have improved him, and said that's fine. He's not an obvious one for me. It's exactly the same we said about Jericho the Referee, but the money's still coming in. So I mean, I think he's a big chance. I'm a bit surprised that he's quite weak in the exchange. I might nibble away at that. It's about 17, 18 in that, rather than play in the sports book at the moment, particularly if I can only get 12s. But I still think he's the one, really, that come round to it. And I do think this is a race that, I mean, no, the Yellow Clay's got money, but it's not just money because he's going to run in it. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
155, that's going to be very, very difficult, I think. And I don't really see a kind of Mullins kind of Jimmy DeSoy here, really.
No.
Neither. So I think it'd be difficult for Ireland to win this. Yeah, I just keep I just keep finding it hard to look away from Iberico Lord at the moment.
Yeah, the one, I mean, that Henderson horse jumped out to me as well. The one that jumped out to me was Jingle Blue. But I can totally see the angle for Empirical Lord.
Yeah,
Jingle Blue,
Katira was strongly mentioned by
Tiro,
Dan
yeah.
Skelton
Yeah.
yesterday. 40s into 20s. That was
One
his dark horse.
144. Jingle Blue got obviously was second behind Cabral de Matan, where he jumped quite poor, but again, kind of did go well towards the end, and obviously finished ahead of Lucky Place, who again I don't think he's entered anywhere, and I think he wouldn't have been on my radar at all. Cross country, Stumptown's got a mark of 162, Fifore de Champ 157. What were we saying a wee while ago about this being a handicap making this more competitive?
I mean, you could put flashing lights and windmills on it. It wouldn't make it any more interesting or competitive. To me, it's just.
Well, it's between those two. I can't.
No, I can see Decibel House from it. Just be kept fresh for it by Martin Brazel. Like Vanilla 8 won the last day. Won Albert Bartlett this back class. I'm amazed at the lack of talk about final orders. I think he ran well. I think the ground beat him. Don't think he's out of it. Yeah, it's the golfer has always the mark down there to exploit, but he's one of those that is now kind of going to be out of the weight, so it'll be difficult. It's more for the top two. I think Fivori de Champdou might be the one here. So you haven't seen it'd be 150 days till you've seen Stumptown. And he's off a much bigger mark, and Fivori de Champdou seems to be weird for a 11-year-old against a 9-year-old, but he just seems to be constantly improving for this. Yeah, I mean, at the moment, I would just have a small each way bet in final orders. But it's a completely ground-related race, and we need to know if that's drying up as quickly as the other tracks. Because if it does, it brings him back into it, I think. I think he's a shade overlooked at the 16-1 mark.
Okay. Grand Annual, be aware, 147 for Dan Skellin. I did have an ante-post pick this week, but I'm now back to the drawing board. David's Well, who got a mark of 135, who's beat GPR1, has been ruled out. So it's back to the drawing board. When we just some of the Irish ones, Jacob's Ladder's got 153. He's towards the top of the market. Adrigal for Gavin Cromwell and Ballysask Hank have got 145, 139. In the pocket, 146. Ben Poland mentioned, obviously, Mambo number 5 and no questions asked, are kind of 146, 149. Again, like you look at it, and you look at the British, we'll maybe get into this maybe like in later shows, but Britain have got a lot of chances, probably more than they have in many, many years.
Yeah, they're just better handicapped, aren't they?
Yeah.
Really, on the face of it. I mean, I do think this one's ultra competitive. I mean, but I know David's well being in betting is annoying, really, because he's been ruled out in the racing post last night. He ruled out this morning, and he's still there. That's not on, really. You know, you're taking the Michael there. He should be out. You know, that's basic decency, common sense, really. So that doesn't sit right with me. Be aware's there. 3 seconds in a row. His finishing effort was tame when favourite in the Coral Cup. That was quite disappointing. I'd be surprised if I was ending up backing him. It's a really open race. Ryan's Rocket did catch my eye, but the money just came in, and he can be left alone at least now until the day. Van der Poel's won his last 2. He's looking pretty good. He's been left for this nicely by Ben Pauling, so I think that's got a chance. Jacob's style still improving, but again, you know, when these horses were kind of like high 140s in Ireland, 153, it's difficult. You know, that'll be pretty difficult. You know, I mean, not even the likes of back in the day, when like Galvin wasn't even getting hikes like that when he was Australian his handicaps. I mean, it's a big effort, you know. And Jazzy Matty coming back C&D, possibly. It's just probably been the plan. It's one of those races where I would not be in a rush to rule out anything that fast. I feel that one under too difficult at the moment.
Yeah. I think the Jack Richards, again, it's still looking at early days in last year. I remember previewing it and we were like, there's Springer after Springer. It's probably similar here. The 2 that jump out are actually 2 Henry de Bromhead horses. Cocktail Divan has got 150, Macquarie 133 for Emmett Mullins, but the one that really jumps out, if this is the plan, Slade Steele off 146 to me is very interesting.
Yeah. Cocktail Divan's been all the rage, isn't he? You know, he's even surpassing Regent Stroll for favouritism. can see why they're leaning towards here instead of the Brown
Yeah,
Advisory.
I think they're right to maybe
Dara
come here.
O'Keefe would be pretty keen to split them both
Yeah.
up. The big Westerner taking the chance there by the looks of it, particularly if the ground keeps drying up. So you can see why he's got a leading chance. He's going to carry plenty of weight, probably top weight in it. But yeah, he has a chance. Price is now gone. But I mean,
Mm-hmm.
so we can leave that till the day. Regent Stroll, Colwell Potter Mark II. Is he as good? Maybe not. Might not get a soft enough lead, but I mean, Paul Nicholls is making the right noise about him. You've got 6 Mile Bridge, beat you by the sea, good horses, got a chance. John's Cross, I would like to see him up 3 miles rather than
Yeah.
this. Might have might have found his limit there a little bit. Yeah, Slade Steel, but again, this horse was what, circa 25 to 1, 50 to 1, 14's now. Literally of seconds. Is he a bit soft? Possibly. He's priced accordingly now, so is Stenciled. Stencil's quite interesting. There's definitely a big race in him. He's 5-year-old, but he won the last day. He's had this. He looks like a big strapping 2.5 mile young chaser on the up. Would like a bit of cut in the ground, so we need that to come right. But I do think he's interesting. Soldier Milan is Kiswell for my on all season. I think he's flying under the radar for Mullins. 141 is fine. If I was having a bet, it would be him. But he's also in the stairs race, and even though I don't like him for that, I think there might be doubts he'll come up here. But we'll see. Even Quebec could still run here.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of depth to this now. And after having a year of knowing how to campaign them, I think there'll be plenty of lurkers there, and it's a race that I'm inclined to hold fire on.
Pertemps final, top of the market, mainly all British. Emmett Mullins, Vanilla Emperor get 1-3-0. Impostoir would be top weight, but he's not going here. Emmett Mullins is getting Melbourne Shamrock at 1-3-2. Yeah, man, for Gavin Cromwell. The one that catches my eye, and it's a very Tony Mullins thing to do, is Letos at 1-3-2, but he'd have to really improve because he completely bombed out last time in the race at the Rollers and Ace. Completely bombed out.
Yeah, but, I mean, it's handicappers in a grade 1, a grade 1, grade 2 should happen. And this has been the back target all season, hasn't it? So, yeah, he's been one I've been keeping an eye on all season, but he's just going to hang fire on that price, really. So, there was no real need to get involved. The top of the market, Supremely West, has been a big gamble. You can see why. It's a kind of typical skeleton plot job. There's no kind of real obvious singular piece of form that suggests he's going to come out and justify favouritism. So, if it looks good, I think Trick Mason's fine. Middle Emperor qualified last week, second, and looked pretty eye catching in doing so. Didn't travel smoothly into it, but he's got a bit up his sleeve. Absolutely dons a horse alike. Ace of Spades been up there top of the market for ages as well. Melbourne Shamrock was another Emmett Mullins horse that qualified. Yeah, man, get £10. Which again is hilarious because if you left him alone, he wasn't getting in.
Nah.
I mean, you've given maybe what they wanted there, because he's seen a chase mark that's £20 higher. Say, well, we need to nudge you up. It's not really a natural hurdler though, but he's off 1-2-3, but he's off 1-3-3 in this. But it guarantees him a run. I think Letos could probably leave that behind. Bolden Devils well handicapped in his old exploits as change yard, and that's how they've got their mark down to 130. So that would have a chance, even though he's 10. But this course to distance form, I think he's a reasonable each wee bet, 20-25 to 1 bracket. I think there's a lot of these that you could put in there.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them are a bit exposed than others. Millstream Lady being one of Eric McNamara's, who's a bit more interesting at the big prices than most. So, yeah, another one, bit like the Grand Angle for me, where I could park it. But if I was having a small each way bet at the moment, it would be Bold Endeavour at 25.
Okay, and what Willie Mullins or Dan Skelton horse caught your eye in the county hurdle?
I still like Zillow. I mean, I'm a
Oh,
fan of
Zillow.
it. I mean, I'm glad you skipped the Kim Muir because I've not even bothered to look at that.
Kim Muir, sorry, I have sipped to Kim Muir.
I can see
Uh,
why. I
yeah.
can see why, to be honest, because it's all about Jericho
I
Durepin,
did
really.
see there was one that caught my eye, Charlie Longshorn New Order, but I don't. Again, I'm not sure he would get in. I think he got a mark of 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. I think he got. Looks very hard for him to get in off that. But if he did get in, he might have an each way chance.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of what's kind of going to defect here. Kim Rock could go here.
I think they're just giving JP
The
a winner. I
second,
think
the
they're just.
second, oh, Jericho Durepin, he's a bit of a twicer,
I
isn't he?
actually thought
Sometimes
Montregard was. I was actually surprised he's got the mark he's got.
the second favourite Yavin Stitches has been touted to run in the Leinster National instead, so
Hmm.
that's a big point to take. Jared Delis can't get in
No.
the cross country weights wise, so it might run here. But 126 is still kind of probably cutting it a little bit fine. But a lot of these horses just simply don't turn up. I mean, there's a lot of entries at this stage, but a lot of them just doesn't materialise. And Daily Present won it last year and has got a reasonable chance of 136 again. I would say you could argue that it's a similar. You could argue it's actually a weaker race.
If Waterford whispers, if we knew he'd stayed 3 mile two, I think he's got a chance here. But I don't think they'll go here.
You might, yeah. Again, he's another one where you kind of wonder where you're going to go. And I think from the Irish kind of perspective, I think Henry de Bromhead's horses were treated on the whole better than most.
Yes.
So it could be interesting. The enabler could go here, I suppose. 136 up to 140 isn't bad. The one at a massive price that I've had my eye on, and he's shorter inexplicably from the National Hunt Chase, which A, he won't get into, and B, he won't have a chance in. It's Walking on Air of Faye Bramley's.
Hmm.
This was 6-1 joint favourite last year.
Yeah.
Um,
It was a Sullivan.
and
It was a Sullivan, isn't it?
and Alan O'Sullivan was on it, and he got badly hampered, and he got injured, and he didn't see the injury until after he ran in
No.
the Scottish National. He's moved yard to Faye Bramley, who's mapped out Glengully to win a big race before. But I can sell as he's shorter for the National Hunt Chase or something. They might be going there. I've not really heard anything on him, but I thought if he came back here, he's won at big prices. He was bigger in both, I'd admit. And to be honest, he wasn't even in the betting lists before the kind of list came out anyway. So I don't think there was much of an opportunity to have a massive price on him. But
Hmm.
he's one
He's
that
all.
I
He's
on.
also quite high in the betting for quite low in the betting for the Midlands National, so that might be an option to go as well. But
Yeah, I mean that's another thing where I could doubly clear. Remember we had the kind of Percival Legalwa saga as well, where
hmm.
he got a whack and they kind of rerouted, but he was off 129 in
Hmm.
this last year, but he went off 71 and could only finish midfield, but £2 lower, change of trainer, probably an upgrade in trainer as well. He ran really well when third the last day. He was an eye catcher. I did put him in the notebook
Hmm.
to be saved with a view to this. He just wasn't putting the bet in. I was
Hmm.
hoping that he was in fancy prices, and he wasn't. He was never bigger than 33s all the time he was in it for it. So he's still one to just monitor, I think.
Just a couple in the county hurdle. I think Sinatra's quite interesting. Get form with active innocence. The one that really jumps out from a Willie Mullins perspective is actually Carbo. I think he's got a chance, but I think he would maybe need a bit of softer ground. But I think the county hurdle, like we see the record that Mullins and Skelton have. Murcia, I don't think she's as good as Kyrgyz.
Yeah, but I think she's in that bracket. She probably doesn't have to be, so how comfortably Kyrgyz won it. Also, might have to work a bit harder and a better race,
I don't
but
think Kreisma's going to get in this year.
um, it might, these races. I know a lot of people will be like concerned if they've like 125 horses or something like that, but you'd be surprised how much it can cut up. That could be enough to get you in. So I think look at the first level of kind of scratchings. Really, I wouldn't be too concerned. You can rule out Amsterdam straight away. He'll take his
I
chance
think
in the
he'd have a
championship.
massive chance if he went here, by the way.
No, he wouldn't. He's rubbish. Stormheart is probably going to go Coral Cup.
Yeah, I think a player in that, actually.
I think Sinatra's quite soft. I think Dan Skelton's top two contenders for this have been ruled out, so I don't think the Skeleton Horse will win this. I think you could probably dig down the betting here a little
Yeah.
bit. Bones and Fire's really high in the weights, and Zillow's beating him, giving him weight, and
Mm.
I still the eye's still drawn there to me. Carboneau is interesting, I agree with you, but again, 150. Yeah, there's just not a lot of wiggle room here. You look at some of the handicapping in these, and you look at Mussey and go, actually, that's not bad.
Mhm.
Because some of these are just whacked out of it. I mean, I think Work Ahead has a chance of 148. Far and Glory would if it's soft. Put Your Hands Together can come back to form 146, possibly. Um, Absurd, I don't think this is a plan. Bunting may go up and trip. It's the same for Zillow, but I don't think he can stay it. So, I mean, it's either this race or he's not interesting, but he does have entries elsewhere. And I just think he's constantly overlooked. You know, at 25 to 133 to 1 bracket. Fairly early on, but that avoided the hard race at Leopardstown on bad ground where he was drifting all the time. So he's still the one I'm kind of really drawn to. And there's from a handicapping perspective, there's not a lot to like. Maybe Hello Neighbour maybe has a chance. He's coming back to it. He's surprisingly on the drift. Joyce would well, Nicky Henderson said that small fields of hard bags probably won't turn up. So there's a lot of these that won't be there. And that could get charisma in, but the ones in behind, there's like kind of you could pickpocket Mercy and things like that, but the ones in behind didn't interest me.
Mhm.
Immediately in behind the betting didn't really, and I could see her going off favourite. I can see her being Townend's pick. I can see her being 5-2, 3-1 like Kyrgyz. I can see her winning, maybe not like Kyrgyz. You'd be having to get down dirty a little bit, but she could definitely do it. Her form looks better than it did as well. Thanks to Talk the Talk. So yeah, don't think it's beyond her.
Yeah. So, in terms of handicap, is there one or even two in particular that you would kind of go with at the moment as your kind of best handicapped horses?
Surprisingly, quite a lot. I would stick with the Wayne Drop the Martin Pipe, Coral Cup, the Barico Lord, Madar, and the Plate. They're the top three. That
Okay.
wouldn't be a bad tricks, I don't think.
Okay. Let's get into the weekend. We've got some action at Kelso. We've got three races at Kelso. We'll talk about a race at Newbury, and then we will do our ante-post. So Kelso, we've got the 140. We've got the Premier Chase. Protector at 4-5. Aroko 2-1. Matata sixes. You've got Ain't That a Shame. Protector at, I thought it was an each way play on the Ryanair, but doesn't look. I would be very surprised if they went Ryanair after coming here, if that is the plan.
Yeah, I also remember him in the novices chase here back in the day where he was absolutely hopeless around Kelso.
Where is
Empire Steel whacked him by 41 lengths. He jumped right all the time. you know, he stumbled at every fence. I mean, I'd be backing a Rocco against him in the back of that. He absolutely hated the place. So I'm surprised he's here, but maybe there's just no other race for him. We don't think Ryanair's up for it and he can just wait for Aintree. But I'll be taking him on at odds on it. I think
Yeah.
people have seen that because he was in at 1-2, wasn't he? Aroko's 11-4. It's now 45 against 2-1. I think people have seen that. So, yeah, even though he's £8 clear than Matata's got a bit of a penalty, he's still well in the weights. Could that have been an off day? Maybe, but he just looked like he loathed the track. I think Aroko
And Rocco's a
might
tried
get.
and it's a tried and tested plan, isn't it? They did it last year. He finished fourth in a national. It worked last year to a degree.
Yeah, and we can handle it. Even though he get beat himself by Grey Dawning, but
Mm.
I think Grey Dawning kind of probably more in his peak really, and he handled the track kind of a lot better than Protecting That does. The thing for Iroko though is like Matata up top could get away, and
Hmm.
this would be kind of bare minimum trip wise for Iroko. He kind of get beat as a Grey Dawning because he didn't have the pace. He kind of get left behind a little bit. So they need to be aware in that score, given it'll be a little bit tactical potentially. But to me, he looks just about the percentage call.
Okay, we'll move into the Premier Novices Hurdle at Grade 2. We've got Starmount at 3-1 for Ben Paulin, Lebeau Madrick, Montemaris, The Last Cloud, Lord Byron, Kazakh Deduderi, Captain Hugo's in here as well. Anything you like in here?
Yeah, I quite like Starmount. I think he could be different league to these a little bit. The yard took this out with Personal Ambition
Hmm.
2 years ago, and he looks a similar kind of type. Aintree was forgivable, I think. Got back on track quickly after that. Down in grade, the kind of easy Weatherby novice to kind of get his confidence back. Behind My Daddy Paddy and Idaho's Son, he made a big mistake in the second last, and understandably kind of backed out of it. The Last Cloud was third, so he'd have a chance. So yeah, but I do think he's maybe a little bit cut above, might be a little bit pacier than Lebeau Madrick and could beat him. But Captain Hugo's interested. We'll come back from before. I think it was a one Musselburgh when I was there that day. He came out. It was kind of just one of those things. He'd be interesting each way because Hobbs team rarely kind of have Kelso runners.
Yeah, we'll go to the more battle hurdle at 2:55. Cracking Rhapsody. I started a jokes in here for Charles Burns. What could that mean? Hamlet's Night is 7-1 for James Owen. Sean Bowen's on board. It's a Captain Hugo's in here as well. Jet to Vegas, I think won it last year. Or won, did he win the Grade 2 last year?
Won the Grade 2
He
novice
won the
last.
Grade 2. He's interesting.
Yeah, and the Russell Shrewsbury team have actually turned the corner a little bit. It was at Ayr on Monday, and their horses ran really, really well. Had a couple of winners. The novice it ran incredibly well to push Next Twist to the limit. Stride On was really, really good. So I think they've turned a corner now. The gallop was kind of, I think Perthshire had a lot of rain,
Yeah.
a lot of months. I think it was technically flooded, really. So they couldn't really get the speed and stamina into their horses. So they might have a couple of really well handicapped types now. And Jet to Vegas would have a chance. Not obviously well in, but I mean, Kraken Rhapsody's won this the last 2 years. That's probably been the plan since. And he could win it again. It's a quirky track where Specialist comes to the fore, and I can see why he's now favourite over I Started the Joke, who's the yard's form has just dipped recently a little bit. That Leopardstown race that he was favourite in was heavy ground and hard going. This might be a little bit difficult for him, even though he's well handicapped, but he's still going to lumber top weight around here. I'm a big fan of Hamlet's Night. I think he would have won if he took his chance at Kempton last week. They ran the flat instead and have come here. He's definitely in the conversation. Captain Hugo's in this and declared, so he might run here instead. So I mean, a lot of these are doubly declared.
Mm-hmm.
Spectacular Sunrise is one as well. It's a good CD form, doubly declared. So yeah, you'd probably have to wait to have a bet in this race. Cracking Rhapsody though, he's going for a 3-timer, and I can see him kind of doing it really.
Okay, we will go to Newbury for the Greatwood Gold Cup. We've got Twin Jets and Vincenzo at fours. Blow Your Wad, Isam, Helpnam, Rodney's in here as well for Kelly. Quite like Rodney actually for Kerry Lee. He's a good kind of winning streak. Obviously won last time out at Ludlow. Charlie Deutsch likely to be on board, I would assume, but I think he's potentially a player 129. I think there's more to come off that. I think it's a good chance here if they go.
And it's a race that usually goes to young horses like that. Hilton and Booster Bob, 2 7-year-olds that won it
Yeah.
off that, and he fits a lot of trends, and he's definitely worth a second look. The thing is that this is completely different to what he's been previously contesting. It's kind of up into the big league, and if he handles it, he's a chance. I could maybe see Heltingham running quite well here. He's threatened to do something. He was just pitched in at Ascot in that Grade 1 John Bond for some reason, maybe just to kind of get a bit more weight off his back. It didn't work, but I mean, he's been kind of messing about here. The handicapper's not really fallen for the game, but his best form is kind of around Newbury. He was second in November. He was 11-4 favourite in behind Twin Jets. And well, Twin Jets is flying up the handicap. He's kind of staying, so he's got a chance to get much closer to the favourite here. He could reverse that form if you think that Ascot was just a float up.
I would imagine it was. Yeah.
Imagine it would be because he did absolutely zero chance of winning it. So maybe just get confidence because he had 2 falls coming into this. So it's maybe just by the back, lob him round, get him round for this. So maybe him each way from a plot perspective, but if money comes, that's maybe going to be more significant. But I do think there's still a race of money, and he won this a few years ago, so he might be the one.
Okay. So you've got Helton and Rodney. Anything else you like over the weekend? Well, obviously, we'll have our pick Saturday, Sunday, but anything jumping out to you?
No, not really. I mean, Dogcastle's not bad as a card. It's got the Grimthorpe. They've not landed in anything yet, but Marauder goes for three in a row and is 25s as a veteran, so interested to see if he can manage that. Um, I thought Home Public in the second race, the 155, the 2 mile handicap, 14 to 1. I think he's far too big. He's well weighted. He's won this before. He was second in it last year to Brookie, but he's got a massive weight swing with that horse. I don't really like the top of the market too much. I think he's got a chance. I think Turnier will go to Kelso. Queen's Gamble's had a lot of racing recently, and they're kind of just trying to make hay with him. And the handicapper might have caught up with Mighty Bandit
Hmm.
at the top. So I think Home Public's a bit of a sleeper there at 14s. No jockey on board yet. Wait till he's declared, but he's there. His best form has consistently been in this meeting at Doncaster. He won a novice race there that was quite hot, a novice chase. He then won this 2 years ago. He was then second to Brookie, and in 2025 in this, Brookie was rated 130. Home Public was 139. The Home Public's now 130, and Brookie's now 148. So he's waited to comfortably swing that around for a length and three-quarter defeat. I don't think he's completely gone at the game. He's regressed. I think he's just working back from this. It's a yard that stay nearby.
Hmm.
They like to target things. So while they're kind of maybe they're primarily focused is going to be at a Rocco at Kill. So don't forget about this guy at Doncaster. I think he's a nice enough price at 14s.
Brilliant. Well, let's move into our anti-post selections. You've got one this week. Mine was ruled out, but we will next week's episode. So we're going to have a double episode next week where we're going to do like a normal episode, and then we'll have our preview show. On the normal episode, we'll do our anti-post recap as we get into the kind of final week. But you've got one more to add to your list, Callum, and where is it and why do you fancy it?
So the champion bumper.
Oh,
It's Quirin of Willie Mullins's 4-year-old. Patrick Mullins had talked about his bumper horses. Most of them are taking a chance. Um, the favourite Love Sounding Out, I mean, won well, but he looks he looks just like the only one horse in the race that handled heavy ground to me. I mean,
hmm.
I don't think there's no way that he's a clear favourite. Irish Avatar is good. Um, I probably prefer him. Base Hunter was fine at Ascot, but it's going to be a lot harder for Chris Gordon's horse to dominate. Keep him companies, maybe Elliott's number one. Not really had a lot of Oh My Words. It's running about 87-day break, but he does have an entry, so he might go. And it left me kind of with the two 4-year-olds in our Trigger and Quinn, and I just prefer Quinn slightly. His debut victory at Nace, I thought was spectacular. I mean, I thought it was. I thought that was a very good bumper performance at a time where early January, where Willie Mullins' horses just simply weren't firing at all. He didn't even go off favourite, and he won really, really easily. Very strong, travelled powerfully, won easily by 9 lengths. Apache Peak filled the same spot recently in a similar bumper, but he filled the same spot to the 7th in that race, Cool Cafe, and he pulled clear of the rest of the field quite nicely. So there's a bit of substance to the form now. He's in the same colours as Kilcroot. And I think there's a good chance Paul Townend will be on him.
Yes.
So, I don't think that's a negative. And I'm really surprised he's as big as he is because I think he's clear second favourite
What
here or something
what
like that.
price?
He's 14 to 1.
14 to 1.
14 to 1 each way with most firms, Sky Bet, Paddy Power, the Flutter Corporation. I just think he should be shorter in relation to those that are near the top of the market with him. The DRF bumper was pretty unimpressive. The winner's 20 to 1, for instance. So that form's not really too rated, and I don't see why he's almost 3 times the price of the favourite, who I just think just handled very, very heavy ground. and the rest of them didn't. The Irish Avatar and Keeping Company are dangerous, but Jenkinstown just have a deplorable record on this. And I think there's horses there's better type of horses have been beaten in it, really. And they just like to swerve it, so it just doesn't inspire confidence. And I think our Trigger's got a chance to beat the kind of same horse by similar distance in debut. I think the two 4-year-olds, even though the 4-year-old record's a little bit doubtful, Q Card kind of the last really kind of do it, getting weight, it's difficult for him. But the reason why I like Quirин is because he was ready to go in the flat. He'd stalls issues, but he's kind of a flat pride kind of type. Really, he's related to 6 French winners on the level. One of those won the Cadran, and I just think the way he raced in that was very professional. And I don't think the occasion would get to him, but I think it'd have to be a very good horse to give this weight and beat it. And I can just see Townend picking him. I can see him shortening maybe into that kind of 8-9-1 Fairly Hollow bracket where he won it with. Seen Colours as Kilcroot, who would be mapped out for it quite nicely, would carry 10-11. And
who did Fairly Hollow beat in his bumper in these colours?
No, I can't remember now.
Won a Supreme.
I should know. It'd be appreciated, didn't it?
It was appreciated. Yeah.
Yes. So I mean, the difference is the breeding's totally different. It's 4, but I mean, but those colours, they do hold kind of significance in these bumpers. I'd appreciate it. Should have beat them, really, shouldn't he? So
yeah.
I mean, you could get to that bracket. It has that 4-year-old statistic to defy, but Mullins has won 5 of the last 6. He looks like he's got a reasonable iron grip in this race again. There will be outsiders people be interested in for sure that could come into the equation. But I'm just surprised he's not close to the favourite. And I don't really like the favourite personally. So, yeah, I think he's the one. He's definitely going to be my bumper horse. And I think he's got a good chance. And I think it's going to be very difficult to beat when he's getting a decent chunk of weight with that 4-year-old allowance as well. I think it's more of a plus and a negative in terms of historical trends, because I do think he races very nicely and professional enough to handle this.
Yeah, I think it's a very good pick. I think as well the fact that I don't think Paul Townend being on board is a negative at all. I think obviously we should say Patrick Mullins won't be on board because he can't do the weight. Is what we're saying. So our Trigger and Kieran are the two 4-year-olds in here. 4-year-olds actually run well in this. They just haven't won since QCAR, but there are good 4-year-olds that have run in this.
Yeah, I mean, and our Trigger would be saying I wouldn't put people off backing just both of them and leaving the race alone. But I mean, I do have respect for Two Ginghamstown, but again, it's just that kind of the historical scar tissue with that is more concerning than being 4 years old. I think. But I mean, it's bumper form. It's not. It's just visual impression, and I was really taken by Quirин at Naas in January the 9th, and I've not really seen anything subsequently to go off him. Really,
I've not seen not one bumper horse has blew me away this year. Like
and the favourite suggests that they have, and maybe he did, but I just think he kind of beat bad horses in bad ground. Really, I think he's the one that kind of handled it, and a bit like maybe like the Copacabana and horses like that, different ground, it could be a completely different thing, and it is beginning to dry out. I think Conn would handle it a bit better as well. So yeah, it was a race where I just said I don't like the favourite, and I've always liked this chap from his debut, and I don't see any reason to go off. It was kind of like the reason why he would delay is getting, well, why they're not going here, but they seem to be happy to take their chance with him and El Trigger. And yeah, I think they're the two to home in, and I prefer Quinn.
Well, we will be back next week. I'll have a pick to get back on level terms, and we'll obviously do a wee bit of a recap of our ante-post picks, and then we've got a preview night on Thursday, Cam. So it's going to be a busy week next week as we prepare for the Cheltenham Festival. Thank you very much, always.
Yep, thanks again. All systems go.
We will see you all soon. Thank you.